Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Drums and Drams. My name is Cameron, and today we've got another episode of Quick Sips. Now this is a little bit of a different type of quick sip here. It's actually the very first double header episode that I've ever done. Up until this point, I've only featured one bottle per episode of Quick Sips, and as you know, these are supposed to be unedited, fairly short reviews between 6 and 10 minutes. Once through, again, no edit, so it's kind of my raw, unfiltered thoughts on whatever it is that I'm reviewing. But because I tend to talk a little too much on these things, and I don't edit them, I don't cut anything out, doing two bottles like this can be a little bit risky, so I'm going to do my best to keep this short, sweet, and to the point. Got a couple things to say up front, and then we're going to get right into these two batches of Barrell Bourbon. As you can see, I've got the lights behind me to hopefully kind of match the orange and yellow branding here on the Barrell bottles, so we're all set to go. What we have here is Barrell Batch 28 and Barrell Batch 29 bourbon. In full disclosure, before we get into it, these were sent to me free of charge by Barrell Bourbon and Aaron at Robro Marketing, so thank you guys for hooking me up with these. And as always, if I'm sent anything for free from a distillery, from a marketing agency, from an individual, whatever the case may be, that never influences my reviews, and I make that very, very clear when I respond to any media inquiries via email or anything else. So I just want to call that out before we get started here. But thank you, Barrell, and thank you, Robro Marketing, for sending me these bottles. All right, so first things first, let's get into batch 28 here. Not much to say about this. It's a 10-year age statement, so 10-year minimum in the bottle. Slightly low proof for a cask strength bourbon, 108.86. And then we have 3 states represented here in this blend. We have Tennessee, Indiana, and Kentucky. We'll talk about batch 29 when we get to it. But let's go ahead and kick off with batch 28. As many of you know, Barrell sources tons and tons of whiskey from all over the place. They are incredible at blending whiskey and also finishing whiskeys. Many of you know their Seagrass, Dovetail, and Armida releases. I'm not a big barrel nut myself because I have the most addictive personality, and based on the price points of these bottles, around 80 to 90 bucks, if I tried to collect all of Barrell's releases, my wife would murder me. So I'm going to stick with what they send me and the couple of releases that I pick up. But let's go ahead now and check out this batch 28 on the nose. All right, so right away you can tell that this is a Tennessee whiskey, Tennessee whiskey forward blend. The primary thing in here seems to be the Tennessee whiskey, but I've got to say, these bottles were sent to me, 4, 5, 6 months ago. They've gotten some air into them at this point, and when I first cracked open batch 28, I was kind of like, oof, that's a lot of that George Dickel minerality in there. But at this point, it's really tamed down, and while I am very sensitive to that particular brand of Tennessee whiskey in blends, this is fine for me. Yeah, you're getting a really nice kind of toasty note in here. It almost smells like you took like multi-grain bread or maybe wheat bread. It's got a nice breadiness to it and toasted it. And that's kind of a signature, again, of that George Dickel Tennessee whiskey. But right underneath that, you're getting some really beautiful dark fruit notes. Just all sorts of stuff. It's almost like you spread like raspberry preserves on that toasted multi-grain bread. You're getting a little strawberry in here too. Yeah, nice cherry. So overall, just a great berry and great red fruit profile in here. And then the oak in the background is not overbearing. It's sweet. It's got kind of an appropriate level of woodiness and funkiness there. On the nose, this is a relaxed bourbon, yes, but a very, I hate to say it, it's a delicious smelling product. And it's not that I hate to say it because it's Barrell, it's that I know there's a lot of Tennessee whiskey in here probably, and I like it. So for what that's worth, guys, let's check this out on the palate. Cheers. That's good stuff. That's really good stuff. When I first cracked this bottle open, like I said, I was not digging it. And some people like to say, oh, whiskeys don't change that much with air. Look, if this is any indication of whether that's true or not, this thing has changed with some air, okay? And it tends to be the case that a lot of these, whether it's a George Dickel 15-year single barrel or Discovery 5 from Bardstown Bourbon Company that has a lot of 17-year-old George Dickel in it, these things tend to round off a bit with air, and that's absolutely the case here. The star of the show with this on the palate is a really nice kind of black pepper spice that helps develop everything. But those red fruits are the primary, sweet factor in here, the primary notes. I am digging this. There might be a little bit of apple in here, like red apple. That toastiness, a hint of chocolate. One more on the palate. Wow. And when you blend in that Tennessee whiskey with some other stuff, if you can keep it from overtaking the blend, oftentimes what you get is a really nice texture because of that minerality. It adds not a grittiness, but just a little bit of a textured quality to the mouthfeel of the whiskey. And look, this is only that 108 proof type, range, whatever it is, 108.86. But look, this thing is drinking very well. It's balanced. I really, really dig it. The finish is lasting a really long time right now. And those red fruits, I mean, they're all over the place. It's amazing. So 10-year age statement on this thing, batch 28. I like it. I like it, guys. So let's go on to batch 29 now. Let's talk quickly about the stats here. This is a 6-year age statement, so 6-year minimum in the blend, so 4 years younger. Proof is 115.88 or 57.94% ABV. And then again, the same 3 states for the distillation: Tennessee, Indiana, and Kentucky. Let's go ahead now and check out batch 29 on the nose. Wow, these could not be more different. This is, clearly a much younger whiskey, 6-year age statement, but you're getting a lot more ethanol here on the nose. You're getting a lighter overall profile, kind of that green apple, almost like a white cake note, maybe some strawberry, corn grain. Yeah, it actually kind of reminds me a little bit of like a Penelope bourbon, that 4-grain MGP with a lot of wheat in the mash bill there. It's a lighter profile. It's really kind of taking me down that Penelope path. All right, let's go to the palate. Cheers. Wow. So this batch 29 feels a lot more MGP forward. On the nose, it reminds me of 2 things on the nose. It reminds me of some of the OKI 6-year single barrels that have been coming out recently, which I believe is the 36% rye mash bill from MGP. And it also reminds me of the wheated mash bill from MGP. Both pretty young, for both of those. On the palate, though, I'm getting a lot of cinnamon, a lot of like that bright, candied, atomic fireball type cinnamon. And I get a lot of that from the 21% rye mash bill from MGP. So I'm all over the place here in terms of kind of pinpointing those MGP mash bills, which is not the goal here. Who knows what's actually in this blend, but that's kind of what I'm getting. It feels much more MGP centric here. I'm not getting any of those same Tennessee whiskey notes that I was getting on batch 28. Yeah, it's a good whiskey. It's gripping because of its youth, because of its spice. It has an incredibly long finish. Again, that cinnamon just goes on and on and on. But the refinement here is lacking just a little bit as compared to batch 28. And I can't believe I'm saying this because, again, I feel like this has a lot of Tennessee whiskey in it, the batch 28, but the refinement is there. And with this, it just feels maybe a little too young for me. And I think if I remember correctly, this won like a lot of awards, and people were going crazy over batch 29. I get it. A lot of people love this profile, this seemingly young MGP profile, and I do too. I like the Penelopes. The OKI 6-year single barrels were really not for me. I felt like they didn't have enough oomph. I don't know, they felt just too young. But this, you know, it kind of gives you a little taste of all those different kinds of lighter notes. Maybe a little golden raisin in here. But yeah, it's just kind of lacking depth. It feels a little bit too surface level. Very sweet, you know? Yeah, grain, white cake, strawberry, almost like strawberry shortcake, green apple, honey, that atomic fireball cinnamon, white pepper. At this point, I'm just rattling off notes, but as you can see, we haven't gone below in terms of darkness. If I think of like a pyramid of of flavors, and the dark flavors being on the bottom, we don't really go below strawberry in this or golden raisin. Like it's very much the top half or top third of that kind of pyramid if you're going to think of it that way. So, anyways, I don't need to keep harping on it, guys. Here's the deal. Barrell, it seems to me like they choose an anchor for their blends. In this case, Tennessee whiskey. In this case, probably young MGP. The age statements reflect that with 10 years here. Easier to get older Tennessee whiskey, and 6 years here, which is, you know, typically kind of that MGP range that we're seeing being sourced these days. And it seems like they've chosen that anchor product and then blended around it to try to refine and fill out that blend, right? And so because, for instance, batch 28 has a 10-year age statement, but it says that there's Indiana whiskey in here, that means there's old MGP in here, because I don't think they're getting that Indiana whiskey anywhere else. And if that's the case, I would believe it, because while you do get the Tennessee whiskey notes, you're getting dark fruits in here. You're getting really rich, sweet, dark fruits. And I'm accustomed to that from, I mean, just about all of MGP's mash bills at that age, 10 years and up. Whereas here, it feels like we've anchored around that MGP, one or maybe even two, or heck, all of their primary mash bills they're using here for their bourbon. And then we've maybe just added a couple of things to help add some depth. But at the end of the day, it just feels a little young and a little sharp for me. If I had to choose one of these, I can't believe I'm saying it, but I'm going to go batch 28. At 80 to 90 bucks, both are a little bit of a tough sell. I think batch 28 probably beats out Discovery 5 from Bardstown Bourbon Company. So that's 120, 130 bucks for Discovery 5. So I might go with this instead. That's a tough call if I'm not directly comparing them, but just, you know, if my memory serves correctly, that's what I would say. And this, at the price point, batch 29, I might pass on it, you know, unless you really love that younger MGP kind of vibe. But 80 to 90 bucks, I don't know. So that's totally going to be your call. Rating these whiskeys, batch 28, probably a B+, and batch 29, probably a, I don't know, solid B or maybe even a B- here. So guys, I think that's all I've got. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel. I did my best to keep this as short as possible with doing 2 bottles. Thank you again to Barrell and to Robro Marketing. What else? Check out the Drums and Drams Instagram. Go give that a follow. I've been working on that page and bringing that kind of back to life. And if you want to help support the channel, you can always do that on Patreon. There are tiers there for everybody with some exclusive behind-the-scenes content, written reviews, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But until next time, I'm going to see you guys very soon. And I'm going to wrap this video up with some batch 28 Barrell Bourbon. You know, just... if you have anything with a lot of Tennessee whiskey in it, which I assume this does, just give it some airtime. Give it some airtime, keep an open mind, and I think it might reward you. So, cheers, and I'll see you next time here on Drums and Drams.